want to turn it over to Jessica Barker of Affluent Business Management. She's the coordinator for Lift Our Vote 2020.
It is such an honor first. So thank you so much to Rainbow Push Coalition and Reverend Jackson for all the work that you all have done. I'm so excited because we use this platform to connect history and what happened through the civil rights movement all the way up to what is currently happening, like what happened in 2013 with the Shelby versus Holder decision, which happened here in Shelby County, Alabama. I am born and raised in Alabama. So the civil rights story and suppression and oppression always finds its roots here in the South. And Alabama has a dirty history of having played a hand in making sure that the people here and across the nation are oppressed. We do know the Shelby Holder decision ended up becoming a federal case in which it stripped the preclearances in the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which gave us the protection and the coverages under which we could vote and access the ballot box without restrictions. Once they overturned that decision on June 25th, 2013, all of this that we are seeing now, it was all planned. And once that decision was overturned, where we are right now with voting, the suppression tactics that we are seeing, and in the midst of a pandemic on top of what they already were doing, we are seeing people are afraid now for their lives to go and vote. So voting literally now has become a matter of vote or die. We are fighting as advocates on the ground to make sure we keep our people empowered and engaged and ready to lift their vote when 2020 November comes up and it's time for us to go out and vote. So I'm just excited to be able to be a voice right now that encourages and empowers my community.
So many of our hearts are heavy because we see what's happening across the country. And, over the last few days, we've been in mourning and sad to see our brothers, our fathers, our sons being killed just for being Black, and just to see George Floyd in the city of Minnesota, that hurts. And that's a different kind of pain that we're carrying. And for me, Black Girls Vote, we were founded in 2015. And one of the reasons I started it because of the murder of Freddie Gray. And so just to see 5 years later what's happening in our communities, and just to see us being tired. I know Kristen started with a quote, and I speak to the great Fannie Lou Hamer, when we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And as Black people, we're tired. We're absolutely exhausted. And so as we've said on this panel, what do we do? In an effort to alert people, we know that we have to meet the people where they are. And so while for us, a lot of us are we're into voting, we're passionate about voting, but we know there's a community out there who doesn't give a daggone about voting. What they are concerned about, they're concerned about their family members dying. They're concerned about putting food on the table and how they're going to survive. So how do we meet them where they are, and how do we engage them in this election, which is, we hear every election is the most critical election of our lifetimes. And so we have to do innovative things. We have to be creative in our efforts to get them out to vote. And I can speak to the work that we're doing. And we came up with a campaign where we're sending customized kits to Baltimoreans, and this kit, and we're calling it Party of the Mailbox. And it's kind of hard to sit here and say, let's party in the midst of what's happening in our country. I'm proud that I'm in the city of Baltimore, where we have a Marilyn Mosby, who's a dear friend, who wasn't afraid to stand up to the officers and say that I'm going to convict you, or I'm going to, it was hard to get a charge. She was unable to charge them, but she was fearless and she was unafraid. So shout out to my sister, Marilyn Mosby. But then we have to talk about all the other individuals who are on a ballot. Let's talk about that and alarm them at what's at stake. Let's also focus on, when we talk about the judicial system, we know right now that Mitch McConnell is making so many appointments to the judicial system right now. We have to talk about the Supreme Court going into 2020. So again, meeting the people where they are, and then Ignite is to get out to vote. And again, we have our ways that we're doing things, but it's about the collaboration, and just to see the sisters here on this call who are committed. So I am excited about working with so many of you.
I just wanted to start and center that my spirit is grieving. Even now, I'm fighting, holding back tears. We're in a real moment. And so I just want to offer and raise it in the context that when we're even talking about voting, right? I'm not one of the people that, even though my life's work has been dedicated to voting, and say that's the end all and the be all, but it is a tool for us to demonstrate our agency. And it is a tool for us to really be able to get some representation and get some harm reduction, some relief for our people. Some folks got to be accountable for what's happening, right? This ain't the moment for us to philosophize and just send things on Facebook and Twitter and act like it's okay. It's not okay. right? And so I raise that because I want, Angela and Reverend Jackson, I'm so honored, inspired by the work and the foundation that you and others have laid. And a couple of things I just kind of want to raise in terms of what I think are, in my mind, are some pieces that we need to do. So one, every single person needs to have a political home. If you are watching this, you need to join an organization and be a part of an organization where we are organized, we are stronger. When there is collective will and a collective power, we are more impactful. You need a political home, whether that's organizing and joining Rainbow Push Coalition, whether that's joining one of our organizations, but you need a political home. Even if, and I know a lot of folks will say, well, I'm not an activist. You don't have to be an activist to be activated. At this moment, you should be activated, right? If you ain't doing no work, be quiet and sit down. Don't talk about them kids out in the street. Shut up. At this moment, even the scripture says, prayer without works are dead. Activate your faith. If you really are a person of faith in this moment, you are being called to activate your faith. Our people are at war right now. We can make this seem like it's just another piece, but we are at war right now. And so it's really important that those of us that really claim that we have a spiritual belief, that we're grounded in that, and that our faith and our works line up with our word. The second thing is write some checks. There are bail funds right now for brothers and sisters in Minnesota and throughout the country, in Atlanta and other places. Write a check. We give folks who kill us. We give people who don't give a darn about us, the Targets of the world and the CVSs of the world, we give them our money. Yet folks who are standing in a space of justice right now, they need our resources. Just like we can give Nike $100 for some shoes or $20 for a t-shirt. The point is right now, we got to step up, family. Write a check. You can come to our page, you can go to Rainbow Push. There are many organizations that are on this town hall right now that you can write a check. Write a check. The third thing that I'm going to ask is that you actually decide at this moment that it's not just about you voting. You got to be responsible, personally responsible for at least 10 people, whether that's your family or your friends, that you check in, y'all. It's organized. The fourth thing that I'm going to ask us to do is that to really get grounded. Like spiritually grounded, we talk about, our religious practices, but who we are as a people, we have always been a people that it has been our literally standing in this space around our spiritual morality, around our humanity that has really shaped and changed the whole world. This is the moment for us to really go deep into that our people are suffering and grieving. They're waiting for us to show up in a particular kind of way. And so it's really important for us to get spiritually grounded in this moment, right? That you put your faith to work in action, that you are literally speaking life into the folks. And I'm saying this because oftentimes it is frustrating and it's hurtful that there are kids that are young folks and people who are literally sacrificing, and some that you may not agree with what they're doing, but they're trying to tell you that they're hurting. So instead of let's tearing those folks down, let's speak life into them and empower them and start literally connecting them to the work. Like it's movement building time. We have also we're going to have to be honest, how we've gotten distracted in this capitalist system, and they're part of what is happening right now. Y'all, we are complicit. We are allowing the same circumstance to happen to our people without demanding something different. So this is an election that is coming up, right? That we've got to get engaged, we got to vote, but we really got to activate differently. And so ultimately, one of the things that you can do is literally, there's an agenda that Black Future Labs, the Movement for Black Lives, has an amazing agenda that they worked on in the process. There are Black organizations, that's what I'm saying, get connected. So in this midst, I'll just say that this is a moment that I don't think that this is just about calling forth that we all being exposed. The white folks being exposed, America being exposed, we're being exposed. Who are you with? And where are you going to stand? Where is your faith going to be grounded? And do you believe that you can transform this country? Because I do. I believe that in the moment when we decide that we're going to transform America, it is going to change.
I don't come to this conversation with the traditional NAACP list of things you should do about voting, because I'm honoring how we all might be feeling in this moment. And I'm honoring the thousands of students and young Black activists that I have the responsibility of working with every single day, who are not only trying to encourage their communities to participate in elections, but also help give them answers and guide them in this moment of uprising. It's not unfamiliar to us. We saw this in 2014. The whole country was on fire in 2014 after the murder of Michael Brown. And I woke up on Thursday morning and went to sleep Thursday night looking at my Instagram and looking at the news, reminded about how strong and how fearless our people are across the country. The responsibility that we have right now is multifaceted. My mentor, Cortland Cox of SNCC, says all the time that voting is necessary, but it is not sufficient. And in this moment, voting is necessary. I know that we've been having debates. I know that we've been having conversations about just the presidential position, but there are so many races, so many decisions, so many policies that impact people who look like me every single day. And this year, like every year, like my sister NYKI said, is necessary for us to turn out to make sure we're participating. The attacks that we have heard about from my sisters who do this work every single day on voting rights and on voter suppression are real. And now more so than ever during COVID-19, the attacks are going to be magnified. The NAACP back in April of this year partnered with the Center for American Progress to write a report on a list of recommendations to a roadmap, because my job is to make sure that people have the tools, the ideas, and are connected across the country to move their states to take action. Social justice is not a competition. You do not need to have 1 billion followers. You do not need to be on the news. You don't need to be at the press conference to make action work in your community. You can do simple things. And so one of the tools that I'm giving you, and it allows you to see the different recommendations of things that Black people specifically need right now in this moment to make sure that the vote is accessible to every single person that looks like us in this community, especially during the pandemic, because we are facing new fights. The second thing is simple. I'm going to lead by example because I have my voter guide right here. I've already highlighted things that I'm going to vote for when I go to my polling location on Tuesday, because June 2nd is the day that DC votes. I've been using vote.org to stay updated because during this time, deadlines have changed. There were 13 states who moved their elections because of the pandemic. And so there were folks who were confused about when the voter registration deadline was, when the absentee deadline was. Vote.org and NAACP have a national partnership. And the young people across the country have been using this tool to ask folks to do one of two things: either register to vote, which is what we're asking folks to do, or 2, check your status. We've heard about the purging. We've heard about the deadlines that have been changed, et cetera. If you check your status, you'll find out sometimes that your polling location might have closed. You'll find out sometimes, like I just found out, my last name starts with an L. There's a certain time that I have to go to the polling place because they're trying to keep up with social distancing measures. So they want folks between the letters of A and M to come from 8 to 11, and they want the folks from after the M to Z to come from 11 to 3. And so you need to know that information before you show up and make that effort. Vote.org will give 2 things to you. It'll allow you to register and check your status, but then you can also make sure that you file for your, request your mail-in ballot. You can make sure that you register for your absentee. You'll get reminders. It has sent me reminders in my text message and my email to find out when I can go and when I can't go. And then it also made sure that I got my voter guide. Listen, it's not just about going to vote again for the presidency. I need folks to be educated when they walk into the ballot box, and that requires you to sit down and, like my sister Latosha said, read. The other thing is this: I charge and move every single person who's a part of a political organization, a faith space, a Greek organization, a campus, a community, a school, a workplace, to make sure that your job as an organizer and as a leader, as an activist, is to touch the people that you are in contact with every single day. The last thing I want to say is we are not a one-sided, monolithic diaspora of people. There are multiple ways to get involved. Registering to vote is the bare minimum.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. What I love about Tiff is she is my younger sister, but still one of my leaders. And I just have to say this: Jael Karindi from the University of Minnesota is the first Black person, first woman president of the Student Government Association, and took on the entire Minneapolis Police Department, telling them they have no place on her campus. And she got her Student Government Association, which is very diverse. Again, she's the first Black, and she was the first Black vice president too. to sign on to that. And they gave the University of Minnesota 24 hours to respond. They responded in less than 24 hours, ended the contract with the police department. And that's exactly the type of action we need right now.